Marcel, a pleasure to finally get to meet you, finally get to have our talk. I've been looking forward to this.
Pleasure.
And, yeah, I'll just pass it on to you, please, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, where you're at right now, where you came from, a little bit about your background, your origin story. I would love to hear about it.
Oh, thanks a lot. So I'm actually originally from Austria. My mother is Japanese and my father is from Austria, Vienna. So I have the luck to, I was raised in two cultures, so Japanese and European Austrian culture. So I also spent half of my life actually in Austria and half of my life now in Japan. So I came to Japan actually in 2011 to work for the Austrian Trade Commission. So it's actually Advantage Austria. And in the 8 years, I had the chance to learn more and more about the business world of Japan, like all the tech companies in Japan and the Austrian tech companies to actually match them. So this was actually the start. And in 2016, it's actually started to become quite popular, also the startup scene in Austria. So many Austrian startups wanted to come to Japan. So my former boss said like, oh, okay, Marcel, now you take care of the startups too. And I was like, what's a start? What? And it really started for me to get into the Japanese startup ecosystem. And it was really interesting. So I built up my network and learned also the startup accelerators in Japan. And as you can imagine, it's a quite close ecosystem because it's all in Japanese. So it's really difficult to get information from outside of Japan. So, but it was really a lot of fun. And then I started to think like, okay, maybe I should also start my own company because I always had the feeling I'm advising like Austrian tech companies, but I never founded my own company. So it was a little bit weird, like to teach somebody to do something what I haven't done. So in 2019, I started my own company, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐿. And with 𝐬𝐿, actually it's the company. So I make all the contracts with, for example, Venture Cafe Tokyo this time to do the project in Yokohama. So I have learned on my way a lot of things, but still I'm in learning. And I'm sure that all the entrepreneurs, it's like always being open to new things and also to network. It's very, very important and to look forward. So I'm also very glad that you contacted me. So thank you for this opportunity, Grant.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to, kind of break down in more detail Venture Cafe Tokyo. And then I also want to talk more about 𝐬𝐿 and, some of the stories you've had behind that and successes of bringing them to Japan. But first, just out of personal curiosity, how many languages can you speak?
So on business level, I speak German, English, Japanese, and like casual style, a little bit of French, but that's it. Yeah.
Gotcha. You said you grew up in Austria and, half there, half Japan. So I just pictured you in like _Lederhosen with some sake.
Yes, that's the right mix.
So, sounds like a great life. So I wouldn't complain as long as you like the snow, But perfect.
Yes.
Tell me more about Venture Cafe Tokyo. How did that get started? And this is a branch of Venture Cafe from the US, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Tell me about that story and what you're doing in Japan with that right now.
Yes. So it was very, very interesting when I was still working for Advantage Austria, so the Austrian Trade Commission. It was I started to go to different startup events, and this was actually where I met Ryu. Ryu is the director now of Venture Cafe Tokyo, and I actually met him at the very first event Venture Cafe started in Tokyo. And it was about, I think now 7 years ago. So this was the really first Venture Cafe Tokyo. And then also almost soon the CIC Tokyo was established in Tokyo. It's actually in Toranomon Hills. So since then, I knew Ryu and Venture Cafe Tokyo and what were doing, and I visited the Thursday gathering. So they do every Thursday a gathering of entrepreneurs, international and also local, in Toranamon Hills in Tokyo, because it's very important to gather different kind of people, like entrepreneurs, investors, governmental people, academia, to increase the potential of let innovation happen. So it's also the concept of Tim Rowe, the founder of Venture Cafe, that actually the silos are the enemies of innovations. You have many, many big corporates in Japan, and they're in silos. They do everything alone and they don't show. But today, everything is so fast. It's really difficult to, even as a big company, to do innovation in this ecosystem. So that's also the reason why actually we started in Yokohama, and Yokohama city government asked us to actually bring this ecosystem also to Yokohama. So we are really in the center of Yokohama, in Minato Mirai. It's a newly developed area. And around that, there are many global Japanese companies like Nissan Motor or Isuzu. And this is also the reason we are really doing the events. And in Yokohama, we call it Yokohama Connect. So yeah, that's Yokohama Connect event. And today we have, again, a Yokohama Connect event. And it's like we're doing sessions at the same time, like at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. And at the same time, in parallel, next to our space, we have a cafe restaurant. We just rent out the whole cafe restaurant, and this will be the networking area. So when you come as a visitor and participate, then you see, okay, these are the sessions today. Maybe I'm not so interested. Let's see who is coming, who's here for networking today. And it's very interesting. I know both cultures, like we have the Japanese people coming and the Westerners, so to say. And the Japanese are always, okay, I want to get the information. So session, this. Okay, I listen to the session and then they go home. But the Westerners, they're more like, I'm not so interested in session, and let's grab a beer and let's see who is in the networking area, have a nice chat and so on. And I'm really looking forward when this will mix more and change, that actually the culture of the Japanese and the Westerners mix, and it's like even.
Are you seeing more of that with like the younger founders, like more willing to mix, or?
The thing is, at the moment, it's more senior. We have universities. There are 4 universities around the Yokohama, and we also want the young people to join. And this is a little bit tricky because the Japanese are pretty shy, and they think like, oh, they are real people, real adults doing business, and we don't want to mess around. So maybe it's not that we disturb, but we always try to encourage. No, it's about, that's the space we want to hear, that you can connect and learn more about, like, to get a better understanding, how is business going, and maybe entrepreneurship could be interesting for me too. So, but for this, you need a space where you can really lively connect with people and talk and ask questions. And we also encourage actually the people to become volunteers at our Yokohama Connect events. So we call them ambassadors, so that students learn the ecosystem and connect by supporting our event as a volunteer. So for example, at the entrance, we have this check-in. You just need your smartphone and scan the QR code. But sometimes first-timers don't know what to do. So just to help out, and when you see somebody just standing there alone, just talk and networking, and to learn with this kind of things also at the session area to do the announcement or something, or join the technical team and see how the broadcasting is going, and understand when you're interested more in this field. And this is what we are trying. And but we just started in November, so it's not even 1 year, so it needs time. But we now start.
It's not even 1 year that you've been doing the Thursday night connects.
This Yokohama Connect things, we are doing it on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday. But okay, we started last year November. So we got the contract, so to say, from Yokohama City to do this. And yes, since then it's not even 1 year. So but
Nice.
we see that more and more people are coming.
Nice. So you're doing kind of like Connect, Meetup, networking every other like second and fourth Wednesday.
Yes.
During the rest of the week, do y'all have any like programming or like accelerator programs at the Venture Cafe?
So there are two things Venture Cafe is doing actually in Tech Hub Yokohama. So Tech Hub Yokohama is the new space which Yokohama City established. And one thing is the Yokohama Connect event to really get the people together. So you don't need to be an engineer or something. It's really everybody's welcome. Everybody can come. And the second thing, I'm also working as a community manager at Tech Hub Yokohama. So the Tech Hub Yokohama is a membership space. It's not a co-working space because we don't have any, you cannot register your company or you cannot get your post delivered to this address. But it's more like you get a member and the membership is free. When you're a tech company, so tech startup, you can register. Even you don't need to be Japanese company. So everybody's welcome. And once you fill out the form on the website of Tech Hub Yokohama for membership, it goes to Yokohama City to the respective department. They check and say, okay, they will also have an online call to see if this tech really fits. And then when you get accepted, you can use the space for, let's say, to bring your clients and have a meeting with them, or to also participate at events in Tech Hub Yokohama. But for our Yokohama Connect, you don't need to be member to participate. So it's pretty open. It's just when you are a member, me as a community manager, I can engage in you and can do business magic of you with a corporate member we have in our database. So for example, when you are AI and I know, this corporate was looking for exactly this kind of AI solution, then I ask the corporate if they're interested in a talk and then check. So we are always in between the startups and the corporate to do the business matching so that, famous corporates don't get overwhelmed because everybody wants to talk, but they are actually not interested in the technology or not looking for it. So to have a comfortable, actually, atmosphere.
I like it. Perfect. Well, I'll definitely have to stop by next time I'm in Tokyo.
Yeah, please.
I like to hear. Perfect. Tell me a little bit more about 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜 LLC, your own personal project. What sort of startups are you seeing moving into Japan? And what are some of the common mistakes a lot of people make before trying to make that move over?
Yes, so very good question, Grant. I can tell you, so I have seen many Austrian also companies, and most of the time it's very on point that the startups or companies want to come to Japan because there's a delegation, please can you arrange some meetings? But there's no long-term plan. I mean, I think you can hear it everywhere when you listen to any podcast. In Japan, it's not a fast business because the Japanese culture is always doing trust building first. And it comes from the logic that it's an island. So everything what comes from outside, it's really, really checked very carefully. And also the Japanese are pretty afraid when they do business with a foreign startup or company that once they don't come anymore, they cannot contact them anymore. It's not on the same island. So that's why I actually advise the companies to have a long-time plan to come to Japan. So first, of course, to check if the market's okay. Then starting building connections with the corporates, and very important to find a partner in Japan because you cannot be all the time in Japan. And even if you can be all the time in Japan, you need somebody who understands the culture and how to do business and how to increase actually the trust level. And this could be very time consuming, especially when you don't know how to do that. So when you have a Japanese native or somebody who understands the culture in your team or the business partner, this would be very beneficial, and also plan in advance. And this is actually what I was doing with 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜 because I work for the Advantage Austria, and I saw already for 8 years that all the Austrian companies, they are not prepared. And those who are prepared, they need much more time to do the consulting. So I thought, okay, now this is the time actually to start my own company, because at Advantage Austria, of course, I have to service all the Austrian companies. Doesn't matter if big or small, or if it's a pencil they want to sell in Japan, and I know that, hello, in Japan we have enough pencil. So it's really like that.
I think, what was it, last week they had the Japan National Stationery Competition, and I saw some of the results of like, this is the greatest new like pencil edition. I'm like, okay, I guess there's awards for that. Sorry, not to get you off topic, but yeah.
Yeah, but exactly, especially with pencils, Japan is more advanced than many Western countries because they are so detailed. But anyways, when I tell them that, then as at Advantage Austria, I could not tell them your product is not interesting. So I had to service them. So with my own company, I can choose my clients and I can see how committed my client is and if we can work together. It's still not proven if you will be successful, but I can see, okay, they have a budget, they have a plan for 3 years, and there's a commitment, and they will even send people to Japan. Then, of course, I can consult them and it makes sense. If it's just like, oh yeah, we are in Japan this year, that's why we want to have a look. Japan is nice, so maybe we can try out something. It's not
a country that you can just test. You gotta.
Exactly. It's not a developing country where we just it's really a industrialized country, of course, and there's a lot of competition, local competition, and the local competition is very strong. So you have to have a very strong product, and even if you have a strong product, nobody understands. So you need somebody who translate it in the Japanese language, not only translate the English into Japanese, because every product, every service is just it's just different how they perceive it. Yeah,
I heard a story. I think it was Nestle or Nesquik or whoever was one of the coffee companies. They hired a Japanese consulting firm to say, like, how can we make coffee as popular in Japan as tea? And this was like 50s, 60s, 70s. How can we make it as popular as tea? And they said, you can't, not today. The plan instead is we're going to create coffee candies, and the kids are going to eat the coffee candies. And 20 years later, all the kids are going to be used to the coffee flavor. And then when they're working adults, they will like drink the coffee because it also reminds them of like a candy from when they were kids. And, like, that's how you break into the Japanese market. Like, that story sounds more and more real every day. And I haven't fact checked it, and I'm not going to, because I like to believe that it's true.
Yeah. But, I heard also an interesting story, Grant. It's actually, I think it was Norway. So the Norwegians, they have a lot of salmon, and they needed a market to sell the salmon. And they knew that Japan is eating a lot of fish. But the thing is, in Japan back then, nobody ate salmon raw. So this was the point where Norway had a lot of travel to Japan and check the market thing. And now it's totally normal that you have salmon on the sushi plate, right? But this was not normal. And I was really surprised when I heard that, because it was way back then, before I was born, I think, where Norway had this strategy as a country, where they said, we need a new market for our salmon. And they really researched and tried out and came with a long time strategy. And now they're selling a lot of salmon to Japan.
That's fascinating. I've never, because like I know salmon is native to like the American Alaska. I know it's native to more European waters. I had never even thought to question of like if it's native to Japan or even in the area. But that's fascinating. I'll have to look more into that. Thank you for that. Real quick, so I know this kind of leads me into my next question, but kind of still staying on Ghenten, but how have you seen things in Japan change over the last few years? Like, for example, especially the last year, I think it was February, they changed the startup visa from 1 year to 2 years, right? And there's been a lot of other kind of like lowering the restrictions to allow for more like outside startups to come in. Like I told you before, we started recording. We were in Fukuoka earlier this year, and just the sheer amount of like international startups that have come in is mind-boggling. We've actually got a guest in 2 weeks from now I'm talking to. He's from Chile, Australia. Now he lives in Fukuoka, so he's a great guy. Excited to hear his take on this, but would love to just hear, like, working with these founders coming into Japan, what are some of the changes that you've seen in the kind of startup culture? Like more funding coming in, maybe less of a stigma around needing like a college degree. Like, just kind of hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. So I really think the interesting thing about the Japanese startup market is it's different than the global one. I think it was really tough the recent years to raise funding, because in the global market it has changed so much. So the VCs have no money. So, but interestingly, it's always in Japan that it works a little bit different. So there are enough VCs who can give money. And I think it's, like you said, it's changing. They are more and more willing also to invest in foreign startups or foreign founders. And the ecosystem is growing. It's not only concentrated in Tokyo. So Fukuoka is one region started really, really early. So they're also perceived outside of Japan as a startup city. Yokohama is coming, Osaka is coming, and Nagoya is coming. So I think it's really getting to the next stage. So first it was just Tokyo because it's the metropole and everybody sees Tokyo and everybody wants to be in Tokyo. But now there are more and more options. What is still needed is the English-speaking ecosystem. So that's what we try to build in Yokohama, which goes very well because I'm involved and I can speak both languages, which is very important. And Venture Cafe itself has now 7 locations in Japan where it is active. But still, not all the locations have like English-speaking staff. So then we see it's stronger in local community building, but not so many global things. But it's also not only the staff, it's also the people. Let's say Nagoya is actually where Toyota headquarters is very close to. And Nagoya people are, even in Japan, very close. And it's very, very Japanese. It's a strong Japanese community, but when it comes to international, global, they need more time. But there are more and more also global events coming. And what is very important is there's an event called Take Off Tokyo. So please check Take Off Tokyo. It's done by a really nice Finnish guy called, and he actually came to Japan to do Slush Japan. So it's a big startup event from Finland. And Antti actually brought this to Japan, but it stopped. And now he started his own brand called Take Off Tokyo. And he said it's so important to have a English-only startup event in the heart of Tokyo. And I really much support this, and that's why I exhibit also on his Take Off Tokyo. And it's more and more people coming, and it's really, you see how the interest of the global world is also now targeting Japan. It's maybe, how do you say? Of course, there are challenges still because our ecosystem is not built because the politicians say now we want to have all the foreign entrepreneurs in Japan. So you have to keep pushing and build like communities, and within the communities to talk, let's say, when you come to Yokohama with us, and then to push this feedback back to Yokohama City, and Yokohama City feedbacks it to the government kind of thing. And the more and more people say, the faster we can change and make it even better. So like you said, the 1 year startup visa, what's 1 year? I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's really tough. And
it's gone. Yeah.
It's gone. And 2 years is still, I would say 3 would be the best, but we have to push it to 3 years. And it's also like, it's not so realistic. I'm doing my company and I got profitable just last year. So after 6 years. So this is all the things, especially with Corona, it was really tough. Actually, it's 3 years to
such a different culture running a startup versus running, like a business plan for a coffee shop, and
absolutely.
You've got a culture that still uses fax machines in a lot of places. You can understand why they're a little slow to adopt, certain other practices. But like, it's not their fault. Like, that's just the way the system has been for a long time, So, and you're very right. Like, it's great that we finally have 2 years. Let's show them, over time of like 2 years isn't enough. We need 3, maybe 4, because some of these startups, they take a little bit longer to reach profitability. But when they do, they really do some great things and like create some awesome opportunities and jobs and bring in funding and things like that. So I can't tell I'm a big fan of startups. But
yes, absolutely. I like the vibe. I like the whole. That's why actually I started my own company, to be closer to the scene and can concentrate really on supporting like interesting entrepreneurs who want to enter Japan. So at 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 Yokohama, there's a really nice guy from the Bay Area now coming, and he really likes Yokohama. I mean, it's both things. Of course, you want to be successful in business, but you also want to feel home or comfortable actually in a place you are. And for him, Tokyo was too dense, because Tokyo is like, you can imagine, you have been to Tokyo, so it's a city of cities. So it's very dense. It's a lot of information. For me, it's also too much. But some people really like it, like really, really dense. So that's okay.
When you're cramming in 40 million people into one city, and if you've ever flown over Tokyo, there's a line in Star Wars where they're flying over one of the planets called Coruscant. They say, "Look at it, it's Coruscant." The whole planet is one city, and it looks like that because it's just as far as you can see. It's concrete, and then you see like Mount Fuji in the back.
Exactly. Yeah.
But perfect. All right, so I always ask this question from all my guests, and I wanted to hear your opinion as 1, a founder yourself, and 2, somebody who's worked with a bunch of founders. What would you give, because I work with a lot of students, so first time and early stage founders, what's one piece of advice that you would give to early stage or first time founders?
So be convinced of what you want to do, because action trumps everything. That's the saying of Venture Cafe. And also at the same time to listen. It's not that you can have your own idea and do something, but still listening and see when to shift. So this sounds easy, but it's most of the time, I think, the most difficult thing, because sometimes you have to just stick, and there are like people who are against it, what you want to do, because they don't understand it, and it's not their fault. They are not bad people or something, and you have to stick. But sometimes you shouldn't stick. So I think this is the difficulty of entrepreneurship. When is the point to pivot, kind of thing?
That's the hard part about giving advice to founders is, there's always the other case of why not to do that. Of like, there's always a reason to break a rule.
Exactly. So I think there will be many nice, maybe angel investors giving you advice. Still, it's advice. It's not that you must do it. But listen to as many things, and once you're convinced, then go this way. But if you're not convinced, then just gather information, and ask people for help. I think the most difficult thing for entrepreneurs is also to ask for help, because you're proud and you think, I can do everything by myself. And I was also like this, and still I'm like this. I have to learn now to say, no, I cannot do this. This is not my strong point. So I need somebody else. So really that you can concentrate on your strong point, because it's a team, and then you can grow faster and really accept your weakness and say, okay, this I cannot do, so I need help. So please help.
I love it. Perfect. Well, before we wrap up, I know you mentioned, not Connect Tokyo, the startup
Yokohama Connect or
Yokohama Connect, and there's a few others that are happening recently. Any other events or things coming up soon that you want to let the audience know about?
So if you think Yokohama sounds interesting, because it's actually the second biggest city in Japan, and it's next to Tokyo, so you can actually go with the express train in 30 minutes to Tokyo. So and we are here with Yokohama Connect and my team. There's also my business partner doing the Yokohama Startup Visa. I think you just need to Google Yokohama Startup Visa, and we are happy to support. Okay. And we are really happy to support you with any questions. So let's build a community together in Yokohama. And actually, I have the big challenge to overtake Tokyo as the number one, especially as the startup city. And yeah, let's do it. So you're welcome, all welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. I'll put all those links below, and we'll go from there. But Marcel, it's been a pleasure to get to talk to you, and I look forward to sharing a bowl of ramen with you next time I'm in town.
Yes. Thanks, Grant, and please stop by when you're in Japan again.
Will do. All right. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.